Okay, thank you. Konnichiwa. It is so good to be with you. Welcome, Tokyo. I am here with my son, Wyatt. Wyatt, stand up for a moment. So it is so fun to be here in Tokyo with my son. He's a senior in high school, and he is absolutely loving it here in Tokyo. So I am just thrilled for this opportunity to share a little bit about game changer leadership. Now, this is a picture of my family. I have a lot of kids, and a few are married, and I've got some grandkids. Okay, and we've had a really good time here the last few days. We were able to see the Meiji Shrine, and we were able to go shopping in the Takeshita Street, and we were able to go to the National Garden and see the beautiful gardens. My son is a photographer, and while we were at the garden, he found this spider and took this picture of it. This is called a golden orb spider, and it's not poisonous, but it'll sting really bad. We were also able to go to the Sky Tower, Sky Tree, a beautiful view up there. And we also were able to go see Akihabara. So my son loves anime. I wrote a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, and my dad wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But now, because of anime, it influenced me to come out with this new book that'll be published next year, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, graphic novel. So thank you, anime. This is my father, Stephen Covey. He passed away about 12 years ago. He wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But before he became a professor and a teacher and a leadership developer, he was part of a hotel chain. Okay, so my grandfather started a hotel, passed on to his father. My dad was supposed to be the next hotel manager, but he didn't want to be a hotel manager, and he told his father, I don't want to manage a hotel, Dad. I want to teach leadership. So he became a professor, and over the next 30, 40 years, he developed from his research the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which has been the most successful self-help business book ever. A few years later, I wrote a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. At the time I wrote this book, I didn't have teenagers. Now that I do, I take back everything I said. There's no such thing as an effective teen. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about game changer leadership. A game changer is somebody that on a team, you put them in the game and they change everything. It makes all the difference. And I hope today that I will say one thing, maybe one idea, maybe 2 takeaways that will help you today in your own leadership journey. When I think of game changers, I think of people that, I'm going to tell you some stories today about 4 individuals that are game changer leaders and about 3 different companies that are game changing companies. And what they have in common is these people, they practice the 7 habits of highly effective people. Yeah, game changer leaders, they practice the habits. So for example, they're proactive. They begin with the end in mind. They put first things first. And they win a private victory, in essence. When you practice getting good with yourself, you cannot be a good leader unless you win your own battle with yourself. Then once you've won your private battle, you're then prepared to work well with other people. So game changer leaders work well with other people because business and life is a team sport. And so thinking win-win, mutual benefit, seeking first to understand, then to be understood, being a good listener, and synergizing, which is the idea of 1 + 1 can equal 3, where the sum of the parts, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. That's a public victory. So you win with other people. You start with yourself, and then you win with other people. And the final habit is called sharpen the saw, and it's the whole idea of getting better all the time. Body, heart, mind, and spirit. It's the spirit of Kaizen. So game changer leaders, they have the ability to really focus on things that they can control, okay? So we all have things that we can control in our lives: our attitude, our behavior, how we spend our time, and there are lots of things we have no control over, like the weather, the economy, certain things we can't have any say over. And the more we can focus in on what we can control, the greater our influence is. But if we get our time and our energy focused on things outside of our control, our influence shrinks. But the more you focus on what you can control, your influence will grow. Game changer leaders also have the ability to be transition people. You're a game changer in that you maybe have inherited certain bad traits from your parents or from your neighborhood or your upbringing. All of us come with some baggage from the past. And a transition person is somebody who makes a choice and says, I'm not going to let all those bad things from the past influence me. I'm going to choose to change going forward. And you pass on good tendencies, yourself, with your family, in your community, in the work you're doing. Yeah, whatever has happened to us in the past, whatever hard things we might have dealt with, whatever trauma we might have had, or difficult setbacks, we can always choose our future. Okay, so I'm going to talk about 4 takeaways, okay? 4 things you can do to be a game changer leader in your own life, with your family, with yourself, in your business. If you're in a leadership role inside your company, these 4 roles, I call them, of game changer leaderships, are modeling who I am as a person, pathfinding, the direction we're going, aligning, getting structures and systems properly aligned, and empowering, unleashing your people. So let's start with the first one, modeling. This is who I am as an individual, my character. Our character, I believe, is going to be more important than ever before. As AI, which is a powerful, wonderful tool, becomes more part of our lives, there are certain things that AI can do that are unmatched. Speed, knowledge, some of the connections. And there are certain things that are very human. And I call these the 4 gifts that humans enjoy that animals don't have and that AI doesn't have either. Okay? Conscience, imagination, self-awareness, and independent will or choice. Add to these empathy and judgment and connection and inspiration. These are gifts, these are uniquely human gifts that make being human and leadership even more important in the future. Okay, so how can you be a leader that others want to follow? Here are what I call the 13 high trust behaviors. This is what high trust leaders do. I won't go through all of these, but there are some that are character-based, like you talk straight, you say what you mean, you right wrongs, you show loyalty. There's some that are more of a competence, delivering results, getting better, clarifying expectations, confronting reality, very important. And then also there are some that are both character and competence-based, things like listening first and keeping commitments. But these are high-trust behaviors that all impact leaders, all great game-changer leaders have in common. So let me tell you a little bit about some leaders, okay? I'm going to talk about 4. First one I want to feature is one of your own, Mutsuko Tottori. And she is the CEO of Japan Airlines and has been in this role for over a year, and is really a remarkable woman because she started 40 years ago in 1985 as a flight attendant. She's been able to break the barrier of a woman CEO, but her talent is really that she is such a good person. She learned the business from the inside out. She treats everybody with great respect. She's made it very clear that the primary focus of the airline is safety, safety above everything else. And when they had an accident years ago, a great catastrophe. She was the first on the scene to say, we're all about safety first. But she's been a tremendous high-trust leader. So the thing I want you to remember about her is she had great competence because she worked her way up from the bottom, and she treated everyone with great respect, no matter their position. So let me tell you now about a game-changer company. Okay, this is Western Digital. And in 2011, in Thailand, when they had the great floods, the floods wiped out Thailand, right? 13 million people were displaced. 800 were killed. And it was the fourth largest natural disaster in history. And Western Digital, which does high-tech data systems, dust-free zones, was 6 feet underwater. Everybody predicted this would be the end of Western Digital, as well as all the other companies in that office park. They estimated that it would take $1 billion and 7 months to get back online. But Western Digital had been one of our clients, and they had gone, their entire staff of 35,000 people had gone through the 7 habits of highly effective people. And their leaders came out and said, well, why don't we practice what we've learned? And let's not focus on all the things we can't control, but let's be a proactive culture and see what we can do to get back fast. So they made a decision. Unlike other companies, they decided not to lay off one person. And they asked everybody to come to work and try to help salvage the plant, as well as getting some Navy divers to go down and bring up their equipment. Tens of thousands of their employees showed up every day, day after day after day. Their leaders were out in front, hauling mud off, bailing water, doing whatever they could to try to restore their factory. And in 14 days, literally 14 days, their factory was back in operations, while everybody else had laid off all their workers and didn't start up for 6 to 12 months later. 1 year later, they became the #1 provider in the market because they had almost total market share, while so many of their other neighbors had struggled. So this is a remarkable example of a company culture and what it can do when it thinks about focusing on what you can control. And a remarkable example for any of us with the challenges we face inside of our companies. So let me move on to the next attribute, the next role of a game changer leader. Okay, so great leaders model, but they also pathfind. They talk about where we're headed. Pathfinding is all about being very clear on your vision, your mission, and your strategy. John Cotter, Harvard professor, in his research, he had this great insight. He learned that leaders often undercommunicate their vision and what their goals are, not by a factor of 1 or 2 times, but by a factor of 10 to 100 times. Generally, we vastly undercommunicate our purpose and our path. So let me tell you about an individual who did a really good job of communicating vision. This is A.B. Combs Elementary. This is a public elementary school in the United States with several hundred kids in the school that was failing. Years ago at this time, the school was doing so poorly that they were about to be shut down. So they had low enrollment, low test scores, lack of parent involvement. The school was dirty. Everything that could have gone wrong was going wrong. And this is Muriel Summers. She was the principal. And she was told by her boss that you better change and fix this school or we're going to shut you down. So she wasn't sure what to do, but one day she thought, Stephen Covey, this is my father, Stephen Covey's in town speaking on the 7 habits. I want to go listen to him because maybe he has an idea on what we can do for our school. So she went to listen to Stephen Covey speak. So while he was teaching, she was sitting in the audience thinking, oh my goodness, these 7 habits, these are exactly what we need in our school. And so during a break, she got her courage up and she went up and she said, Dr. Covey, can these 7 habits be taught to young kids? And he said, I don't know why not. Why don't you give it a try and let me know how it goes? So she was excited about after talking to Stephen. She went back and she talked to all of her teachers. And she said, let's save our school. We don't want to be shut down. I just learned about the 7 habits. Why don't we bring the 7 habits into our school and let's teach leadership. And let's make our mission to develop leaders one child at a time. And so that's what they did, is as a staff, all the teachers got together and they came up with this mission statement. So they decided to do this. She went back and talked with her boss, and he said, sure, go ahead, develop a leadership school. And that's what she started to do. So she taught the kids what changed inside the school. Everybody learned the 7 habits, the adults in the school and the children. They learned a common leadership language. They learned how to set and achieve goals. They all carried around data notebooks because she said, I want the kids to be responsible for their own test scores. I want them to know exactly how they're doing. Their responsibility for achievement is on them. They taught the children how to meet and greet people and how to speak in public. And they were all given leadership roles and responsibilities. So all these things changed. Leadership roles, goal setting, the 7 habits. They became a leadership school. And just a few years later, this failing school became the #1 school in America. And they got the award again 8 years later, #1 school in America. And the model of what they created, this leadership model inside their school, spread out across the United States and then across the world. Today there's over 8,000 Leader in Me schools, these leadership schools in over 60 countries, including we've got 70 Leader in Me schools here in Japan. This is all captured in a book called The Leader in Me. So here's a great example of a principal who didn't under-communicate, over-communicated 100-fold their mission about being a leadership school. And this is some pictures of a Leader in Me school here in Japan. Okay, let me move on to this third role of a game changer. Okay, a game changer is good with alignment, meaning you make sure that everything you're doing, if this is the goal you're going after, you make sure that everything is aligned appropriately. Yeah, J.W. Marriott, the person who created the great Marriott hotel chain around the world, he always used to say, the devil's in the details, but success is in the systems. What we've learned in our studies at Franklin Covey is that if you focus on too many things, if you have too many goals or initiatives as an organization, you'll tend to underperform. And that most organizations have far too many initiatives, far too many goals, and you're better off narrowing the focus. If you focus on many things, like most people have, 11 to 20 initiatives, you'll get nothing done. And the key is to narrow the focus. Okay, so let me tell you about another great leader. I told you a little bit about Musuko before. I told you about Muriel Summers. Let me tell you about John F. Kennedy, okay? So in 1958, there was a space war going on between America and Russia. Who could get to the moon first? And at the time, Dwight Eisenhower was the president of the United States. And he came up with 15 paragraph-long goals of how that we're going to lead the world, how the United States would lead the world in space exploration. Here's just a little list of some of those goals. There were so many goals that nobody knew what to do. And then the next president came along, and this was John F. Kennedy, okay? And in 1961, early in the decade, he set a goal, and he said, our goal is to get to the moon and back by the end of the decade, and to return a man safely to the earth. It was clear, it was concise, it was short, and once he said that goal, to the moon and back, by the end of the decade, it galvanized this entire NASA organization. And they quickly figured out that they knew everything they needed to know about getting to the moon, except there were 3 problems they hadn't solved yet. Propulsion, life support, and navigation. Those were important to solve. And They had to solve these 3 problems, but the goal was so clear that it galvanized everybody. One thing, one big goal that got everybody behind it. And it was only 8 years later that man did land on the moon. Considering the technology we had at the time, it was impossible to land on the moon, yet they did it because they had one focused, galvanizing, single goal. So this is a great example of how if you have too many initiatives in your business, if you have too many goals, you'll have a hard time getting things done. But if you can find one galvanizing goal, it's amazing what happens. All your other goals won't go away, but like an air traffic controller, there'll be planes circling in the air while you land one plane at a time, like they did in this case. Remember to write all of your initiatives, all your goals should be in a format of from X to Y by when. We will increase market share from 3% to 5% within 18 months, or whatever it might be. Every goal needs to have a starting line, a finish line, and a deadline. All right, so JFK, great example of somebody that knew how to get a system behind him. Let me move on now to the 4th role of a game changer, which is empowerment. Okay, so I have a lot of Japanese products in our home. I own a Nissan Rogue, a Nissan Armada, a Nissan Murano. I own a Toyota. What's our Toyota, Wyatt, that we've got? WRX. A WRX Mazda. I have a Toyota RAV4. I have a Honda 185 motorcycle. And I have a Honda four-wheeler. Yeah, so Toyota is a remarkable company. And I've bought many Toyotas through the years. They're remarkable because Japan is known for hierarchy. Sometimes it's very formal, rigid. But Toyota breaks that mold. They have the Toyota way. And they teach this idea of continuous improvement, the idea of respect for everybody. There's not management, they don't have special parking places for senior managers. A person on the front line has the power to shut down an entire line of production if they see something wrong. It's really a remarkable organization, a game-changing organization. And today, Toyota, as you know, leads the world in car manufacturing and has the #1 spot. And they are the pace car for everybody else. Yeah, so there are 3 examples that I've shared with you of game-changing companies. 3 examples: Western Digital, A.B. Combs Elementary, and Toyota. And any company can apply these same principles to improve their performance. So this is a picture of Death Valley. Death Valley is a place in California. It gets very, very hot, one of the hottest places on earth. And they get very little rain. Over a year, they get 2 or 3 centimeters. And so it's very dry there, and nothing grows in Death Valley. That's why they call it Death Valley, because it's dead. But one day, one winter, they got 6 inches, about 30 centimeters of rain over a 6-month period. They'd never had this before. And it blossomed like this. There were wildflowers everywhere. And suddenly, everyone realized it wasn't dead after all. It was just dormant. They should have called it Dormant Valley, not Death Valley. The seeds were there. The seeds were there. They just needed the right nurturing and the right conditions to sprout. Isn't this very much like people? Aren't we all a little bit dormant sometimes? And inside of our teams and our organizations, don't we sometimes have lots of talent that's not nurtured and is underneath the ground, dormant? And empowerment, this game-changing role of empowerment, means that you believe in people and you see the good in them and you create the conditions, because the vast majority of the people that work with you are like this. They've got gifts and talents. They just need to be nurtured. So I'm going to tell you another story real quick here. But take a look at this real quickly. Is your leadership style command and control-like? Or is it more trust and inspire? If you want to nurture people and help them sprout and nurture the seeds, being a trust and inspire leader is far better. Where you lead people, you don't manage them. You extend trust. You unleash talent. You inspire them. You don't motivate them externally. We want to strive to become trust and inspire leaders. Okay. Have you ever had someone believe in you when you didn't believe in yourself? Can you think of a time in your life where you had a colleague, a boss, a coach, a teacher, a parent that believed in you when nobody else did? I think we've all had that happen to us before, right? Where somebody believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. So let me tell you about one last game changer leader, okay? So this is a personal story. This is my nephew. His name is Britton, and when he was little, he was always the smallest guy in the room. Very, very small, but also very fast. And he was a football player, and everybody thought he was too small to play at the college level. But there was a coach. His name was Kyle Whittingham. And Kyle, even though Britton was really small, Kyle said to him, "You're amazing. You've got incredible speed, and you can play at the college level." And when nobody believed in him, there was this one coach who came in and said, "You can do this, and I believe in you. Even though you're one of the smallest guys in the field, you can become a great player." So Britton became a really good player. So everyone said, "You can't make it in high school, you're too small." He did. "You can't make it in college, you're too small." He did. And just a couple of years ago, there was a big American football event called the Rose Bowl. Millions and millions of people watch it. It's one of the biggest sporting events in the world. And he was playing in this, and this was his last game, okay? His last game. And I want to show you a little clip, okay? So this is a clip of my nephew, Britton Covey, who was way too small, okay, to play football, to play American football, where everybody's huge. But I want to show you what happens in this clip. Okay, here you go.
Dwayne Haskins and Justin Fields as the only Buckeyes with 40 or more in a year.
He could just work on that accuracy a little bit.
Covey didn't run enough, does he? Look at Covey weaving his way. Look out, Britton Covey accelerates. Can they run him down? No, they can't. Britton Covey, yet another house call as a returner. This one in the Rose Bowl, 97 yards. What a memory in his final game at Utah. Look at the score, weaving through some heavy traffic in the middle of the field. He's already a Utah legend coming in, and Britton Covey punctuating his Utah career here in Pasadena. 27-14 with the PAT to follow after we step aside.
Okay. Woo! Yeah. What they say in the United States is, "Let's go!" So he did an amazing job because his coach believed in him. Now, everyone said, "You're too small to play in the NFL, the National Football League, the professional league." He's playing in the NFL now and doing really well. He had someone that believed in him. This is a definition of leadership that I love by my father. Just look at that and read it carefully. Leadership is communicating to another person their worth and potential so clearly they're inspired to see it in themselves. So, these are the 4 roles of game changer leaders. And I hope there's an idea or two today that could help you. But you need to model like Mitsuko and like Muriel Summers. You need to set direction like Muriel Summers and A.B. Combs did. You need to align systems, make sure your goals are properly set, like John F. Kennedy did. And you need to believe in your people, because they've got the seeds inside that will sprout if nurtured. Okay, I'm going to end with a short video, but I just want to say this. You have an amazing, Tokyo is the most incredible big city I've ever been in. And you're amazing people. And I love being here, and I'm inspired by you. And I just want you to feel that I believe in each one of you. Each one of you has greatness in you. And each one of you can make a big difference. And it all starts from the inside out. It starts with getting in charge of your own life, getting really clear about your own personal mission, making sure that you balance your life, and really trying to live a life of integrity and living your best life. So I want you all to imagine your 80th birthday. So think ahead, because all of you are very young. Think ahead of your 80th birthday. What do you want it to be like? And then live your life accordingly. So enjoy this short video.
自分が80歳を迎える日のことを想像してみてください。祝福に訪れた友人や家族の顔を思い描いてみましょう。みんながあなたの歩んできた人生をたたえ、お祝いの気持ちを伝えるために集まってくれました。みんながあなたを誇りに思い、あなたについて語ろうとしています。あなたはどんな人間としてみんなに語られたいですか？自分についてどのように言ってほしいですか？どの功績を覚えていてほしいですか？あなたがみんなの人生に与えた影響は何ですか？
これまでずっとどんな時も私を支えてくれて本当にありがとう。
ふざけてばかりの僕を我慢強く見守ってくれてありがとう。父親になった今、今度は僕が子供たちに母さんの教えを伝えていくよ。
ありがとう。私はこの大切な夫を少なくとも70年間愛し続けてきたわ。私たちの結婚生活は60年だけどね、出会ったのは小学生の時なのよ。実を言うとおじいちゃんに一目惚れしちゃったの。私の愛する夫に心から誕生日おめでとう。
思い起こすとね、やっぱり親父の後ろ姿いつも心の中にあって、それに励まされて今があるな、そういうふうに思います。
ありがとう。
誕生日おめでとう。みんなからね。
今日からは自分の80歳の誕生日を具体的にイメージして生活してみましょう。そうすれば自分なりの成功の定義を見出すことができるはずです。自分が心から求めるものをミッションステートメントとして書き記すことは人生の大きな助けになります。ミッションステートメントでは自分が最終的にありたい姿を明確にします。自分が目指す人物像や人生で成し遂げたい功績、そして貢献を明らかにします。それは個人的な憲法だと考えてください。ミッションステートメントは浮き沈みのある人生の中で大きな決断をしたり、日常の小さな選択をしたりするとき、あなたが振り返る基盤となります。ミッションステートメントは形式にとらわれません。自分自身を表現できるならば、どんな書式で綴っても構わないのです。詩で表現する人や写真をコラージュする人もいるでしょう。長くても短くても構いません。時間をかけて考えてみてください。何度か書き直す必要はありますが、 途中で諦めてはいけません。数年前、私は自分のミッションステートメントを振り返る機会がありました。当時よりずっと昔に書いたものです。サイクリングの後、私は浜辺に腰を下ろし、自分のミッションステートメントについて非常に深く思いを巡らせました。私は数時間考え続けました。そしてついに私の心は、皆さんが想像できないくらいにすっきりと晴れ渡りました。私は新たな決意に奮い立ち、喜びと自由の感覚に満たされました。その時、私は再び自分の人生を認識したのです。フランクルの言葉です。私たちは人生における使命を作るのではなく、見出すのである。私は作るのではなく見出すというくだりが気に入っています。人生のミッションを定義するときにはよく考えてください。自分の心の底にある願望や夢を掘り起こし、自分の責任や最も親しくて大切な人々との関係を思い描いてください。なぜなら本当に価値あるものは心の奥底から湧き上がってくるからです。詩人メアリー・オリバーは言います。すべてのものはいつか朽ち果てる。そしてそれはあまりにも早すぎる。教えてほしい。あなたはこの冒険に満ちた貴重な人生をどう生きようとしているのか。
Okay, thank you very much for being able to talk with you. It has been a real honor, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here in Tokyo, Japan. Have a great day. Arigato.